My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/campaign to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
Move your career further, faster in just 2 days with a Harvard Professional and Executive Development Program. Advance your leadership skills, craft smarter business strategies, build your network, and transform how you work and think to keep your career moving forward. You'll earn a certificate and can add Harvard to your resume with Harvard Professional and Executive Development. Learn more at professional.dce.harvard.edu/Spotify.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. With the price of just about everything going up during inflation, we thought we'd bring our prices down. So to help us, we brought in a reverse auctioneer, which is apparently a thing.
Mint Mobile Unlimited Premium Wireless. How to get 30, 30, bit to get 30, bit to get 20, 20, 20, bit to get 20, 20, bit to get 15, 15, 15, 15, just $15 a month? Sold! Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 upfront payment equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes. See detail.
Welcome to Book Talk for Book Talk, a podcast where we deep dive into the writing of your favorite novels.
This is Jac.
And I'm Amy. In Season 2, we explored Sarah J. Maas's A Court of Mist and Fury.
In our post-season content, we look forward to sharing listener feedback we received as well as interviews with some exciting guests. You can also expect to hear some special listener-requested content.
The views expressed by the hosts and guests are entirely their own and in no way represent the thought or intentions of the original author. This podcast is a discussion shared to spark thought and conversation on the characters and themes of this novel.
Though the hosts speak mostly within the constraints of this book, series spoilers may be discussed with or without warning. Explicit language as well as themes of sex, violence, abuse, self-harm, and depression will reoccur throughout this podcast. Listener discretion is advised. An accomplished stage and television actress, Colleen Delany has narrated numerous best-selling audiobooks. She has also been the voice of characters in video games such as Fallout 4 and Elder Scrolls Skyrim. At Graphic Audio, Colleen is a voice actor, studio manager, and creative director, and has most recently directed the graphic audio production of the Court and Thorns and Roses series by Sarah J. Maas. Welcome to the show, Colleen. Hi.
Hi. Thank you, Jac. Thank you, Amy.
We're so excited to have you.
It's a real pleasure to be here.
Yeah. As we were saying right before we started recording, every single one of the actors that we spoke to had the nicest things to say about you and absolutely gushed. So I'm really excited to speak to someone who, so many people, 5-star review, 3 out of 3 people, highly rate.
Awesome. No pressure.
None at all. So what brought you to graphic audio and when did you begin directing?
I have been with graphic audio since, I would say, the beginning and before. I come from a background in stage acting, and when I started working for a sort of predecessor company of graphic audio, it was around 2000, and so I was just looking for side hustle to support my stage work in the Washington, D.C. area. So I started doing like abridged romances back in the early aughts. And then around the mid-2000s, they really formed their business model as it became. And I did voice acting for graphic audio from that time forward. And then around, it was 2012, so a little over 10 years ago, I came on as a director. What had happened was my life changed, and I started my family with my husband, and now we have 2 daughters. So it just became more important to have steadier work. And it was just unbelievably lucky that I could transition from a career on stage with different side hustles to support that to like take that side hustle and move it right into the center and be fully employed by it and still get to be creative and even get to work with some of my old friends from this theater scene.
Oh. I love that. It makes sense though with the theater background, just because of, I feel like theater actors always have the best pronunciations for everything. Like they enunciate the absolute best.
Oh, I got beaten into shape by the Library of Congress, Books for the Blind. That was another sort of side hustle. Like, you can't find a lot of me narrating on the commercial market, but if you go to the catalog for the Library of Congress, Books for the Blind, there's hundreds of my titles that I've narrated, and their reviewers do not let you slide on your pronunciations. So I got beaten into shape.
We get criticized for the way we pronounce Feyre's name.
No, Amy's being nice. I get criticized. Someone left a poor review on how I pronounce. I say Farah versus Feyre. And then I said cereal for the longest time versus surreal. So those were, that's my struggle. That's the burden I carry is my lack of pronouncing.
But yeah, that seems like child's play compared to Library of Congress reviews. Books for the Blind.
I didn't realize that graphic audio has been in the game for so long. Like even before Audible, it sounds like.
Yeah, I mean, so up until early 2020, we were a mom and pop shop. And, you know, the decisions were being made by this couple who owned the company together with our management. We remained very small. And right before the shutdown, our little company was bought by RB Media. And I think that's kind of how we came to even do a property like this. I was just going to say that our earlier stuff can feel very different because it was for a different market. Lots more men.
That's perfect because it brings us to our next question. Can you tell us about the start of this whole ACOTAR project? Like, what is the origin story? If you're saying that it kind of happened around 2020 then?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, honestly, I did not have a personal relationship to the world of ACOTAR prior to getting introduced to this project and adapting it for graphic audio. I do not know the process, how we came by getting to do the title, except that my boss is awesome and she's always trying to get titles that fit with our immersive audiobook model, audio drama. And then I think somehow having the new corporate daddy helped us get the property too.
I can imagine. I mean, it's such a popular series, and I feel like the author, Sarah J. Maas, has always been really unique in the way that she offers her books and her projects in different ways. Like she has adult coloring books. She has like pocket size books for travel that I saw one time. So it makes sense to me that she would find another unique form of portraying the series, because as a fan, I feel like she's always been generous in that sense.
Yeah, right on. I only recently saw the special art that went with the Books a Million, I want to say, publication of Frost and Starlight, maybe?
Okay.
And it was very like deco looking and, you know, sort of like that elongated artistic style. And I love looking at the fan art. You know.
Yes. Yeah. We interviewed a popular fan artist who does a lot of ACOTAR drawings. And oh my God, the interpretation amongst the fans is absolutely amazing.
Yeah, I totally agree.
So you mentioned that you were not familiar with ACOTAR prior to taking on this project. So how did you gain the vision ultimately that you had for the project? Was it through fan art and just reading, or, you know, what was your process?
I really just approached it the way I would any other book, with the asterisk that, you know, with something this important and, you know, maybe ignorance was bliss on my end. Like I could come at it with a fresh mind and not feel daunted by the strong opinions held by the, you know, the fans on social media and so on. So so maybe that was advantageous, but at least I had the assurance of knowing that there would be a lot of communication on the front end with Ms. Maas and her team to, you know, keep us true to the world and true to her vision and her intention for the series, and just, I guess, her experience of what the fans have come to expect. You know, in those crucial early months when I was understanding the world and trying to express it in our way in script format, and then also making casting decisions. That was like so important to be able to have access to the Maas team for their feedback on that. I think really helped keep it, you know, closer to the fans' expectations where I might not have that deeper understanding.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the fans have these characters very near and dear to their heart. And for a series like this, where everyone has such an idea of what they think, it sounds like I think the best example is Amy always imagined the book to be female, right, Amy?
Oh, yeah. The book of breathings that they get in the summer court, I had always imagined the voice to be female in my brain until I heard the graphic audio version. And I was like, oh, it's male.
I always imagined male, personally. So, two different.
What does that say about you?
The patriarchy. No, I love it. To me, I'm like, what I'm hearing is I read it right, is how I'm interpreting that.
Oh, I refuse to go into right and wrong about that. I mean, obviously, an author of printed books has the luxury of, I mean, it doesn't come up in this series per se, but an author can say there was a voice on the other end of the line, and, the reader is left mystified with no clues, but we have to commit. We have that scene, you got to hear the voice. It's less mysterious then. So apropos of what, I'm not sure, but we're stuck being concrete about some things that can be left to the imagination on the printed page.
I think it enhances the experience for fans because it adds a new layer of meaning that we didn't necessarily have before. That, what does it mean for, just as a small example, what does it mean for the Book of Breathings to have a male voice versus a female voice? Does that impact the narrative at all? And if so, to what extent? So, because we do, in our podcast, we're doing a literary analysis. And so to know that, would it have added a layer of meaning? Maybe not. But in other instances, maybe it would have.
We love doing the analysis of everything. So we overanalyze everything. That's the whole point of our podcast. But I think that listening to the graphic audio for me pointed out a lot of different parts that I kind of glazed over in my own analysis, because I'm hearing the team's interpretation of a certain scene and the choices that was made then makes it, I'm viewing it differently in a great way, where I'm just like, oh, so what did I miss then? If that's how that interpretation's done, what does that mean to Farah in her story?
Yeah, I mean, I like the way you can kind of get the rhythm of conversation when it's not bumpity bumping along with he said and she said and the narrator telling you what tone was used. You can just hear it. And that way, if you have an exchange that goes back and forth and then stops, it's, you feel something and you wonder now why, what's making them pause or what's being underscored here.
Yeah. The dialogue was probably one of the best things with the graphic audio that I really, really enjoyed. Just hearing the actors go back and forth with everything. It brings it to life. It's like a movie in your mind. It's the whole point of everything, where I'm like, you did it, guys. That's exactly what your mission statement was. And it was accomplished thoroughly.
Woohoo!
So because ACOTAR is by a female author and has a female narrator / protagonist, the series has taken on this identity as being a chick book, quote, chick book. That is some other interpretations I've heard on TikTok, not mine. When listening to graphic audio version, it doesn't come across as gendered, while simultaneously honoring the fact that it is about a young woman. And I find that to be really incredible. How did you manage to strike that balance?
I think it's just all on the page. I think it's just baked into the writing how Farah as a central character she's not all yin or yang. She's not all Elaine. She's not all Nesta, right? She's got this great mix of complexity. And I think that's just all in the writing. I do share the point of view of, for lack of a better phrase, it being a chick book in this, which is, I mentioned earlier how our earlier catalog was dominated by books for a male audience. So we had and we still do, but it really back then, our product was going largely to the truck stops. So we had Westerns, post-apocalyptic, sort of military feeling storylines. And and that lent itself to the graphic audio model, where
All the noises, yeah.
right. So, I mean, that is like adrenaline inducing and satisfying to like a typically male brain. I mean, I hate to, compartmentalize it into genders, but like there is something men are from Mars about that. And there is a little something women are from Venus about like getting to be immersed in a story of complex characters, but then with also this romance element to it, and how for women it's not necessarily about like seeing all the images, but to like get to hear the storytelling and to like have the voices there. It's caught me by surprise sometimes when I'm like, that's nice.
Yeah.
Unexpectedly engaged in the intimacy, just
Yeah.
by being present to it. And so, I mean, I just think in that way, it lights up the brain of the like typically feminine, typically masculine personality quadrants.
It makes sense because of how, like, so in season 1, when we cover specifically A Court of Thorns and Roses, we talk about Farah as a character and how she struggles with the balance of quote unquote the feminine and the masculine, because we're introduced with her and she's a very, like, she's the patriarchy of that family. She has she's in charge. She's the father figure. She's the one who's in charge of everyone's survival. And as the book goes on and she's learning to become more comfortable or feeling safe, that's when she starts to kind of embrace the feminine and becomes more comfortable in dresses. And you can always tell where her comfort level is by how she's dressed. And it's almost like in Thorns and Roses, it goes very extreme because like Tamlin like likes her dressed up, but then you see that balance happening a lot more in Mist and Fury, as she's comfortable wearing pants, but also likes to wear the dresses. And so there is that balance, because that is Farah. Like, she is that definition of finding that balance between, we're not all one thing. We're made up of more than just quote unquote masculine and feminine. So, you talk about the balance, and that it's spot on, because that captures who Farah is.
And I think that speaks to what you were saying, which is it's all on the page. Sarah J. Maas did the work for the story to come to life. I also see what you're saying about typically masculine versus typically feminine storytelling, and how this is maybe more of a typical feminine way of telling a story. I do appreciate, though, that granted, it's in the last 25% of each book, but there's a lot of action, and it does happen, and it does take place. And I do enjoy that we get a little bit of a balance there.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's all, just lucky for us, again, in our kind of particular niche of the market where, we love this immersive, sound-rich opportunities to tell the story. This book gives a gamut,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does.
Fall has officially started here in Los Angeles, and that means we finally get to do fall activities.
I have been counting down the days for when I can go to pumpkin patches, maybe even hit up an apple orchard, and I get to do all of it looking super cute in my Quince boyfriend sweater.
This weather is perfect for my dark academia vibes, and I'm so excited to bust out my washable silk blouse because I'm going to be taking pictures.
Quince is known for their Mongolian cashmere sweaters from $50. And that's not all. Quince has so many other amazing things on their website.
All of those items are priced 50 to 80% less than similar brands.
That includes leather jackets, cotton cardigans, soft denim. Like, my entire fall wardrobe is genuinely turning into Quince wardrobe.
By partnering directly with top factories and cutting out the cost of the middleman, we get savings as the customer.
One of my favorite parts about Quince is the fact that they only work with factories that use safe, ethical, and responsible manufacturing practices. And they still manage to get premium fabrics and finishes for that, luxury feeling for every item that they have.
Get cozy in Quince's high-quality wardrobe essentials. Go to quince.com/booktalk for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. That's Quince, QUINCE.com/booktalk. BOOKTALK, to get free shipping and 365-day returns. That's quince.com/booktalk.
Move your career further, faster in just 2 days with a Harvard Professional and Executive Development Program. Advance your leadership skills, craft smarter business strategies, build your network, and transform how you work and think to keep your career moving forward. You'll earn a certificate and can add Harvard to your resume with Harvard Professional and Executive Development. Learn more at professional.dce.harvard.edu/Spotify.
Hey, I'm Ryan Reynolds. At Mint Mobile, we like to do the opposite of what Big Wireless does. They charge you a lot, we charge you a little. So naturally, when they announced they'd be raising their prices due to inflation, we decided to deflate our prices due to not hating you. That's right. We're cutting the price of Mint Unlimited from $30 a month to just $15 a month. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 upfront payment equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes. See details.
So you mentioned that SJM's team was very involved. Were there any special requests that they had or that Sarah J. Maas specifically had for this project, or a vision that you were asked to achieve in the process?
I mean, I think it was really just to engage in a lot of preliminary hand-holding. And then once, we had a flow and a relationship and a lot of givens established, a world built, say a sense of this is the kind of scoring we're looking at, again, with some of the decisions on voices. It was more of just basic principles, like we're going to be super in touch on the front end. And then as we go, we'll just, check in on the regular to make sure that I don't know what I don't know, but they're there to keep me in check.
Yeah.
So it's just worked out perfectly well between, her team and our team. And so I guess I'm not truly answering your question. The answer is no. There were not specific requests. It was more of a flow that we established.
I mean, that sounds great. It sounds like it was more of a partnership, and, she has written such detailed work, and, if you're honoring it and you have the vision in mind, then yeah, she doesn't need to necessarily come in with too much like, all right, guys, we're making this sci-fi. That's what we're doing. Like, add robots. There isn't anything too crazy there. But I mean, to me, that just shows the trust of the graphic audio team that, there's clearly a history there of doing such great work with the interpretation that I think I walk away as a compliment for you of like, wow, that's really amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really have to give a shout out to the two audio engineers, sound designers who have shepherded the whole series through so far, and that's Casey Green and Megan Hasty. They have tag teamed this book together from the very beginning. And I think it's just a testament to, like, you couldn't say like, oh, that's Megan's side and that's Casey's side. Like, we all try to be in such communication and make clean handoffs of, oh, do you know that ambience, that sound effects occurred on side one and Casey handled that. So Megan, make sure you have that same feel for like when you come back to it in disc four.
Part four.
Part four. Yeah. I love there's so many things that we've been finding out of just kind of goes into this next section, but the recording process of how it's handled and how it's been handed off. So, like you're giving these examples of these two producers where I'm like, there are two different producers. I can't tell you anything. Like, I didn't realize that there was any kind of switch happening. So we've learned from Melody, Anthony, and Gabriel that each voice actor recorded their sections separately and everything was edited together in post-production. The audio is so seamless that as a listener, I never would have known, and nor did I know that they were recorded separately. How does having the actors record separately help or hurt the recording process? And what challenges did it present to you as a director?
Well, as far as recording actors together, that's a thing I've never known. So I don't have any basis for comparison. I'm sure there'd be, lovely things to glean from it. But, to be honest, Gabriel may have a session with me to record his Lucian dialogue, but then his session may not be done because like Nan needs him for a character and Rose has got him cast in another book.
Mm-hmm.
And so it is that helps us keep it all coming. There would be no way to coordinate getting people together. So we directors, a lot of us come from a theater background where we just do our best to play the other characters in the scene, in the session. And hopefully we have our arms around everything enough, whether or not we have yet recorded their scene partner, to have some picture in our minds, so to speak, or in our ears. Of what it would, look, sound, feel like in the end, and that they're responding to the same, if it's not the same inflection, it would at least have the same emotional intention or the same layers of like wanting to say and not saying, or, the feeling of stakes or obstacles. Hopefully we find a way to keep it consistent via the one scene partner who's the director.
I can see how having a theater background as a director is so helpful then in that instance, that the voice actor in the moment is not playing off like really monotonous lines, right? That you're engaging emotionally with that character in a way that elicits the reactions that you want from them. So yeah, that's really fascinating, but also makes so much sense.
And the truth is, the very talented actors that we're hiring are used to a certain amount of self-directing. A lot of them are audiobook narrators on the side, voice actors on the side in various media. And, so they know to come in with like, strong scenic ideas and sometimes no notes, let's keep going, right? So it's a testament to our very strong talent pool as well.
Especially with Anthony and Melody, there's like some really hard scenes that they've had to record, just like emotionally and just, trying to get those emotions out. And when we interviewed them, and part of the reason why they spoke so highly of you was just being able to get those emotions from them when they're doing these scenes on their own. Like, so if some, like these big yelling scenes where, Anthony was telling us how he had to yell out Farah several times over, but just like
for varying reasons.
Yes, that's true. Let's all be real. We all love chapter 55 here. That is a big fan.
Yes, I'm sorry, I derailed your question. Yes.
Never. No, if it's anything to do, that's bringing it to the right tracks is what that's doing. But just the fact that you're able to like get these emotions from them in these very private setting, they're not doing, I don't know, they could be doing big hand gestures and stuff, but like, it's one-on-one and you're able to pull get those emotions out from them. So it's just, I'm going to keep saying it. It's impressive.
Yeah, full props to the actors. But yeah, I love our, format in that we get to do do-overs. And, sometimes I can't tell you the number of times an actor is like given me a perfectly good take, but it wasn't what I heard in my ear. And, we go through like 2 more takes, 3 more takes, 5 more takes. And I might get the like, okay, they stressed it and phrased it exactly the way I asked. And then I go back to edit it and I'm like, no, I like the first take actually. Because whether or not it has the shape that I really wanted, there's way more value in the like immediacy and the authenticity they brought to that first take. And so, I'm making those wheat and chaff decisions in the best way I can as I go, but sometimes it's surprising.
It sounds like it's all worked out. And from my point of view, listening to it, I'm like, it flows. I get it. It all makes sense.
So from either reading the books or through the recording process, have you developed a love for a specific character from the Court of Thorns and Roses series?
And we'll just say character, not the actor. It has nothing to do with them. You can admit.
Sure. Well, you know what? I love Tarquin so much because sometimes he is just the only grown up in the room. Like a lot of people have been hurt and betrayed in the past. Tarquin, it kind of happens on camera. Like you see him kind of getting duped by Feyre and Rhys, when they want to get that book for good reasons. Nevertheless, they chose not to trust him. They did that algorithm in their head and they were like, nope, don't trust him. Steal it instead.
Yeah.
And flirt with him along the way. He's described as this like greenish. He rises to his seat of power because of lots of death and grief in his family. I don't know. I see Tarquin. And even after all that, he has two big moments of being like, I will get over my ego, my hurt, my righteous indignation, and do the right thing in this very important high stakes moment.
Yeah.
So I have so much respect for Tarquin.
And he's the only one, I mean, not the only one, but like he does it pretty quickly compared to a lot of other characters who take books sometimes to get to that part where I like your way of pointing it out. Like he's the only grown up in the room.
Yeah, because even like our so-called friend behind the scenes, Helion, is like, I don't know if that's my best move politically. And you're like, hey, this is more important than that right now. And enter Tarquin.
Yeah. Yeah. I just love hearing everyone's picks of characters and why. Everything you said, I'm like, yes, that is exactly right about Tarquin. But then when all together, I'm like, he is a great character. Sold. I do love him.
What I love about this is when we speak to the voice actors or to you, Colleen, and you speak with such passion about the character, it always gives me goosebumps because I'm always like, wow, you're right. Like your conviction speaks to me, but it's also like you're making good points. It's not just the conviction, but it's very powerful to me. I love it.
Sarah Maas wrote these characters, like even the smaller ones who don't have as much, time on screen have backstories and layers and, just gives us lots of opportunity to think and feel. It's great.
Yeah, I'd say talking to Gabriel was such a unique experience because Amy and I in our analysis have been rather harsh on Lucian as a character. In our analysis, granted, that was for book 1 and 2. We haven't analyzed him in book 3, which he does a lot more growth there. But speaking to Gabriel gave us such a unique perspective on the character that it was... I love that we spoke to him. Oh, I felt so guilty. I was like, I've said some hard things about Lucian. I'm sorry about that. But it's, I'm happy that we talked to him before going into Wing and Ruin in our analysis because he does a lot more growth there. But yeah, talking to everyone and just everyone has to get into the character's mind. So we're busy over here, living our best lives and doing analysis, like not getting too into it. But everyone else is having to really think about every motivator, every move that they're making.
Yeah. And thank goodness for it.
Yeah.
It makes your job easy, right?
For sure.
So what was your favorite scene to direct? And, and if it wasn't 55, that's okay.
There's something very, quotidian, day to day about my process. So I really cannot name a favorite scene except to say, it's just so fun to be in session with the actors. And then, my job doesn't end there. So like when Pacey and Megan have designed, this book section by section, and then I get to listen to it to give them feedback. I mean, I alluded to this a little bit earlier, how it could go, Feyre says something and Rhys retorts, and Feyre says something and Rhys retorts, and Feyre makes a deeper point and then Rhys pause. And just the opportunity to make the smallest change that can have the greatest impact. Like, a delay of 1 second in someone replying can feel so much impact because they were mad or because they were hurt. The moment the pattern, the rhythm of the conversation is broken, the listener's like, wait, why? So I love those moments for the opportunity to it's like setting up the actor, because I know here comes their inflection and it will inform the question. You're like, wait, why? And then the actor's inflection has that emotional content that answers the question why. I love the opportunities to, make that part of it sing with just the subtle tools that we have in post-production.
I love that. It is the subtleties what makes it all come together, really. Like these moments, these heartbeats.
Yeah, and that's such a unique opportunity that you don't necessarily have on stage or on film because you can't control the other person, right? Whereas you have this opportunity to pick and choose when and how. And I think that it feels like art, like it feels masterful in some way, that you have all this control over the experience and the timing.
Well, thank you. I mean, honestly, it's so much of it is just sticking to the script and it's doing what's on the page. But like, yeah, the opportunities for creativity are there, and that is delightful too.
Well, thank you so much, Colleen, for your time. It was such a pleasure to speak to you and to hear your side of this project. Are there any upcoming projects you would like to mention for our listeners to know about?
Well, I'm adapting Frost and Starlight.
Ooh!
Yay!
Oh, I'm excited about that.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm like right in the middle of that process of making the script ready. And it's a shorter story, as you may know, and the format, the convention changes a little bit in terms of the narrator voice. So that'll be different and interesting. But, even though it's not going to be released until a little after the holidays per se, I don't know, that it sort of dips into that spirit of Feyre wanting to give back, Feyre wanting to be of service to the community. And though a lot of, mishigas happens along the way, like where we end up, there's a focus on family, and then there's a focus on community service and just the reminder of like how, if I'm feeling hurt and broken, how powerful it can be to reach out to someone else who's feeling hurt and broken in the same way, and how that can heal two people at once. I think it's really lovely.
I love that book so much. It's just the perfect bridge between this series and then going into Silver Flames and with Nesta. It's like you said, it's small, but it does so much work. It wraps things up wonderfully, and yet, makes that bridge to the next chapter. So it's a lot of work to be done in such a small book, but I have full faith. I'm really excited to listen to that one.
Yeah. And it's nice that, like you said, it'll probably be available after the holidays, but it's kind of cool that you get to work on this. Some of the fans call it the holiday special book. And it's kind of nice that you get to work on it during the holiday season, and how that message and the season comes together. It's kind of nice.
Yeah. And when we're all paying down our credit cards from the holidays, you can just listen to this story and be like, that's why I did that.
Yep.
That's right.
Oh, well, I hope that, graphic audio just covers everything Sarah J. Maas. I mean, that's not me digging anything of information, so please don't think don't confirm anything. But I just, as a fan now of graphic audio and of Sarah J. Maas, there's so much I would love to hear from that world now, just to be able to put actual voices to the words and everything, to the dialogue, and to hear/see everything in my mind a lot clearer. So, I mean, personally, I really root for Silver Flames to be next. And if that's the case, please include the secret chapter. That's my, that would be my request. I just want to hear. I know, right? I know. Just like, I just want to hear Asriel from his perspective. That's all I want. But yes, anything that is coming out, I'm really excited. And I know the fans were all huge fans of your team and everything that you guys have done with this series. And, you can tell that there has been a lot of love behind making it. So, which is great because there's a lot of love listening to it.
Oh, I'm grateful to you both for your interest and enthusiasm. This has been so much fun.
Oh, thank you.
I was just going to say, I know you're busy. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to speak with us. And we hope we get to speak again sometime.
Amy and Jack, it's been a real pleasure.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to this special episode of Book Talk for Book Talk. We encourage you to rate and subscribe to our show on your preferred podcast listening platform.
As we gear up for Season 3, where we will deep dive into a court of wing and ruin, we will continue to share between-season thoughts, interviews, and exclusive content.
We would love to hear your thoughts based on today's conversation. You can submit your comments to our form at booktalkforbooktalk.com for a chance to have your feedback discussed during a weekly mini-episode.
If you are enjoying the podcast, visit our website, booktalkforbooktalk.com, to view our latest merch and to learn about supporting the show through Patreon, Ko-Fi, or Venmo.
Fall has officially started here in Los Angeles, and that means we finally get to do fall activities.
I have been counting down the days for when I can go to pumpkin patches, maybe even hit up an apple orchard, and I get to do all of it looking super cute in my Quince boyfriend sweater.
This weather is perfect for my dark academia vibes, and I'm so excited to bust out my washable silk blouse because you know I'm going to be taking pictures.
Quince is known for their Mongolian cashmere sweaters from $50. And that's not all. Quince has so many other amazing things on their website.
All of those items are priced 50 to 80% less than similar brands.
That includes leather jackets, cotton cardigans, soft denim. Like, my entire fall wardrobe is genuinely turning into Quince wardrobe.
By partnering directly with top factories and cutting out the cost of the middleman, we get savings as the customer.
One of my favorite parts about Quince is the fact that they only work with factories that use safe, ethical, and responsible manufacturing practices. And they still manage to get premium fabrics and finishes for that, luxury feeling for every item that they have.
Get cozy in Quince's high-quality wardrobe essentials. Go to quince.com/booktalk for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. That's Quince, QUINCE.com/booktalk, BOOKTALK, to get free shipping and 365-day returns. That's quince.com/booktalk.
Hey, I'm Ryan Reynolds. At Mint Mobile, we like to do the opposite of what Big Wireless does. They charge you a lot, we charge you a little. So naturally, when they announced they'd be raising their prices due to inflation, we decided to deflate our prices due to not hating you. That's right. We're cutting the price of Mint Unlimited from $30 a month to just $15 a month. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 upfront payment equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes. See details.